Hey everybody, Crow back again, and welcome to Williams Pinball Censored, Part 2. In this video, what we're going to be looking at is the tables in Williams Pinball Table Pack 2 for Pinball FX3, and what exactly was censored in each and every one of them. And if you're kind of curious about what exactly I'm going to be looking at, I do have an introduction video. I do recommend watching that if you haven't, so you better understand what exactly I'm looking at. But basically, Williams Pinball is censored in Pinball FX3 on the consoles, but if you have it on Steam, and this is as of now, if you have it on Steam, you have the option to disable that censorship. So this video is going to be really comparing the censored versions versus the uncensored versions on Steam to give you a better idea of what's kind of censored overall. So in this video, what we're going to be looking at is Black Rose, Attack from Mars, and The Party Zone, the tables that were in Table Pack 2. Now, what I had planned on doing before actually starting each of these videos is to kind of do some corrections in past videos. Well, as of recording, the first video hasn't actually gone live yet, the one for Table Pack 1. But I do already know I kind of made a mistake in that already, and that's when I mentioned that for the Medieval Madness, there was no mentions that there were voiceovers taken out. Well, there was a mention of the voiceovers taken out. I just didn't scroll down far enough to see that note, but it's no biggie since it was in the video anyway. I mean, when there's a comment that says that there have been voices that have been taken out, sometimes it's very hard to determine what exactly has been taken out, because in a lot of games you're not going to hear all the voices anyway. And we're going to see this issue pop up in this video as well, where I just don't know what was taken out because you're looking for something that isn't there. But that's really all I have for the introductions. So let's just jump right into the changes that were made for Black Rose. All right, we're gonna go over Black Rose pretty quickly because there were only 2 changes made overall. And right now we're looking at the middle of the playfield, but we can zoom in on Black Rose over here and we can see this is the censored version. Let's pull in the uncensored version, and we can see that her dress had been altered to remove any cleavage whatsoever. I think they even moved her rose tattoo higher so they didn't cover it up. So that's change number 1. Not actually, something I really didn't notice. It's noticeable now that you know that it's there, but even though it's on the playfield, it's still really not that noticeable. So I'm gonna say it's not that big of a deal, but still kind of kind of one of those things that's disappointing that they altered. But the next change is very noticeable. All right, so right now we're looking at the back box for Black Rose, and we're gonna zoom in on Black Rose herself. And if you're any bit familiar with what this is supposed to look like, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. So let's just pull in the uncensored version. And wow, they really covered up Black Rose here. First of all, she's got leggings on or something, some spandex or whatever in the censored version, whereas it was just her bare thighs before. But also in her boobular chesticle region, you can see that they tightened up her dress a bit and removed pretty much all of the cleavage whatsoever. Well, I mean, there is a little bit of cleavage there. I mean, I mean, I guess they could have covered it more, but I mean, it's a little bit less noticeable like what they did, but it is noticeable, really noticeable when you look at it side by side. But especially the leggings or the whatever you call them, spandex or whatever. That's pretty much the biggest change we're gonna see overall in this entire video, I think, at least the most noticeable, because there are some very minor things coming up. But that's it for Black Rose. Let's move on to Attack from Mars. All right, we have a handful of changes for Attack from Mars. So right now we're looking at the playfield near the flippers, and let's zoom in on that lady that's right there. Well, this is the censored version. Let's pull in the uncensored version, and you can just see that they gave her a bit more clothes. They covered her leg a little bit more and covered up her side a little bit more by her arms to make it a little bit less revealing. So again, this is pretty much, again, covering up more, I guess. I really don't know why. This is one of those things where I'm like, I don't really see what was wrong, what could be that objectionable with the previous version compared to the new version, other than we're just seeing a little less skin I guess you can kind of see a little bit of under boob, a little bit on the uncensored version, but really, who's looking that much at it? Anyway, let's move on. All right, we're looking at the back box now. Let's zoom in on the lady. Yes, it's something else, and this one actually took me a little bit longer to figure out what they had actually changed, because I kept looking back and forth at the old version and the new version, and well, the censored version, the uncensored version. So let's pull in the uncensored version, and if you can't see it, it's so minor, but basically extended the flap of her dress a bit so it covers up more of her thigh. Now, this is one of the biggest, why did they have to change this moments? Is really like a centimeter of thigh gonna make a big difference in the rating? I mean, they must really, really, really be trying to play it safe at Zen Studios if they felt that they have to cover up a little bit of thigh like that with some extra little bit of artwork. Again, this isn't that big of a deal. It's just wondering, why was this even necessary? I mean, it's one of those things where I kept looking at it back and forth. It wasn't until I looked at it overlapped and even side by side until I realized that dress was a little bit longer. And I mean, it's just such a minor thing. Was this really necessary? But yeah, let's move on. All right, so there were a couple of DMD animation changes made in Attack from Mars, and I'm going to tell you that these took me quite some time to find, actually. The one I'm showing now was the first one I found, and what we're looking at is an animation that plays during Total Annihilation, where a guy with a flamethrower is kind of burning a Martian, and we can see he turns black and kind of blinks or whatever, but that's the censored version. Let's pull in the uncensored version of this animation, compare it side by side, and we can see that the alien actually gets disintegrated by the flamethrower. And they had just changed the animation to turn him into like a black charcoal thing, and I could swear he even blinks his eyes a little bit to kind of show that he's just burnt. He's still alive. He's still blinking his eyes. It's more cartoony that way, rather than just getting totally obliterated. Honestly, I don't think this change is that big of a deal. In fact, the new version of it makes it a little bit more cartoony, and that to me is fine considering how this table presents itself, but still kind of disappointing that you still don't get the, you're not actually killing the alien. He's not getting disintegrated. Rather, you're just kind of, I guess, inconveniencing him, like by cartoon burning him. He's just like, kind of like what would happen in a Looney Tunes cartoon where somebody gets set on fire and they're like just black and they blink their eyes, blink, blink, or whatever. I assume that if there was a sound effect, it would be blink, blink to kind of show that the alien is still alive. But yeah, that's the first animation. Now the next one, this one took me a lot longer to find, so let's move on to that one. All right, so what we're looking at here is the extra ball animation where the camera pans up to the alien, he roars, and then the ball comes in and smacks him in the head. And I was like, I think this is where there's a change. But no matter how much I looked at it and compared it to the uncensored version, I was like, I don't see a change. There's got to be a change here, but I'm not seeing it. Let's pull in the uncensored version. And I'm looking at this side by side, and I'm like, I don't see it. What is changed? And I kept looking at this, and I kept looking all over the place. I was like, I guess there's no change here. But wait, there is a change. I actually had to go through it frame by frame to find it. But I'm going to take out and repeat in slow motion 5 frames. And now you can see what the difference is. It's only the 3 frames in the middle of this 5-frame animation that has the changes. And you can see that when the ball hits the Martian's face in the uncensored version, he's like losing teeth a little bit. He's it's like a big smacking flash. There's a little bit of spit flying. Maybe it's blood, I don't know, because this is an orange DMD. We really can't see the color. I'd like to see the color DMD version of this. I wonder if they made it red, actually. But yes, it's just 3 frames of animation they altered. Now, it's maybe a subliminal thing where you're just imagining the alien's getting hit harder than he actually is. But I'm going to say that this change is not that big of a deal because most people aren't even going to notice it, even if they're looking for it. But still, why was this needed to be changed at all if it's so brief? And it's a Martian, it's not like it's a human. I'd hate to see if we had Martians actually invading Earth now, because there'd probably be people out there protesting violence against Martians or whatever. Even if they were killing us, they'd be like, don't hurt the Martian, whatever. Anyway, let's not get too political here. That is all I'm going to cover for Attack from Mars. But I need to mention that there was a comment saying that there were some voiceovers taken out. And to be honest, I have no clue what voiceovers were taken out. I looked at footage for censored and uncensored for hours, and I just could not figure out what voices were taken out. So maybe if somebody knows, you could let me know, and I can make an addendum to a future video. But as for now, we're just going to say there are voices taken out of the censored version, but I don't know what they are. And let's move on to our final table, the Party Zone. So here we are looking at the Party Zone, and there are a lot of changes made to the Party Zone, a lot of little changes, but these are the same two types of changes again and again and again. So let's get started, and what we're looking at now is the playfield, and let's zoom in on the lady that is in the in lane, the right in lane. Let's pull in the uncensored version, and you can see that her top was altered. I don't even know why this was changed. There wasn't even any cleavage shown in the uncensored version, but I guess they played it safe and altered her dress just a little bit. And right now we're going to look at another very similar change. Let's zoom in on the lady that is in the left in lane. And as you could guess, it's going to be practically the same thing. Let's pull in the uncensored version. And her top was altered slightly. Same exact deal. Let's move on. And again, we're looking at roughly the same area of the playfield, but let's zoom in on that bottle of Bop Pop. So this is the censored version. What did they change? Let's pull in the uncensored version. And what they did was they changed where it said Shake Well at the bottom to For Kids. And I'm wondering why they needed to do that. Was it too much like a wine bottle? Because it does seem like a wine bottle, aside from the fact that it says Bop Pop. And if you're unfamiliar with kind of some terminology in the Midwest of the United States, pop is just another word for soda. And so basically it sounds like it's soda anyway, but why would you shake soda? It's kind of a conflict there, and it's kind of, you know, bursting like it is a champagne bottle. So I guess that's why they felt the need to put For Kids at the bottom. It's for kids. That means it's not alcohol. So there's that change. So let's move on. All right, we're still looking at the playfield, although we're working our way up the playfield. So let's zoom in on the party monsters there. We got the Cosmic Cottage VIP Pass party monsters. And what did they change here? Well, let's pull in the uncensored version. And what they did was they changed all the alcohol they were drinking. The Wolfman had a mug of beer and Dracula had a glass of wine, it looks like, but they changed it to green. So, and they also removed the foam from the Wolfman's beer. So I guess they're not drinking beer anymore. What they're drinking is Green River. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Green River is, it's a soda that was created in the Chicago area. It's a lime-flavored soft drink. I live in Chicago and I don't see it all the time. The only time I really see it is around St. Patrick's Day. So I think it's like a holiday-themed drink in a way. If you're unfamiliar with Chicago, they make a big to-do about St. Patrick's Day. They dye the Chicago River green, and everybody drinks Green River, I guess. So that's why I'm using the reference Green River. I live near Chicago, so to me, it's like they're drinking Green River. And this isn't going to be the only time we see this. Let's move on. So we're still working our way up the playfield. Let's zoom in right above where we were. We're looking at the Party Animal VIP Pass. And we could pretty much see again right away what I'm going to point out. Let's pull in the uncensored version and we can see again, it used to be a mug of beer with foam. They removed it. They kind of added bubbles and he's drinking Green River now. So let's move on. All right, still working our way up the playfield. Let's zoom in on this mug near the Supersonic Robotic Comic spot that you would shoot for, and again we could see a mug of Green River here. Let's pull in the uncensored version. Yes, it used to be beer with the foam. So they altered the color, removed the foam, and you've got yourself a mug of Green River here. That's it. Let's move on. All right, that's pretty much it for the playfield, but we do have a piece of plastic here. Let's zoom in on that. And there's actually several changes on this piece. Let's pull in the uncensored version. And not only that we can see that the beer has been changed to Green River, again with the foam removed and everything, even the drips on the one on the left has been removed. But if you look closely as well, the dress, the outfit on the lady has been altered as well in the boobular chesticle region. You know what the funny thing about that is that in the notes, the legal notes make mention of the beer being altered or the liquid being altered, but it makes no mention about the dress itself being altered to remove the cleavage. So I guess that's something they overlooked in the notes there. But yeah, it was just something like that. Since they were changing it all over the place, I was like, I bet you they changed it here too. And sure enough, they did alter it slightly here. It's such a light alteration, but yeah, let's move on. All right, so this next one is a tough one to spot, but let's zoom in on the lady that is on the back board, far in the right-hand corner, the one that's saying he's not funny, he's fast. Now, what was altered here? Let's pull in the uncensored version, and you can see that the top of her dress was altered oh so slightly. And this one isn't really that big of a deal because it's so far back from your vision that you're almost not even going to see it unless you're comparing it side by side like this. But still, such a pointless thing to alter, I think, just to remove just a little bit of cleavage. Again, it speaks for itself. Let's move on. So now we're moving on to the back box, and there are a lot of little changes on there. So let's get started. For starters, we're going to zoom in on the lady in the upper left-hand corner of the panel here. And we can already guess what's going to be. Let's pull the uncensored version. Again, they altered her dress to remove the cleavage and make it less defined. You know, make it less fun, I guess. So there's that. Back to the back glass here. Let's zoom in on the other lady in the upper right-hand corner. Pull in the uncensored version, and again, exactly the same thing. Made the dress a little bit less defined, you know, a little less fun, as it were. Oh man, I might get some heat for that. But that's the only way I can define it. We're making it less fun, but let's move on. Okay, so again, looking at the back box, let's zoom in on the lower left-hand corner here. Now, there's actually two changes here. You might be able to identify what one of them is right away, but the other one may not be so obvious. Let's pull in the uncensored version, and we can see that the guy was drinking beer. It was changed to Green River, but more surprising is that the lady had her outfit. She was like wearing no pants before. She's wearing no pants, and basically her one breast was almost hanging out of her dress there a little bit. She's having a good time. It looks like she's having way more of a good time in the uncensored version than in the censored version, but they did cover it up. Now, that is something that you really had to be looking at the back box to see. But when I saw this, it took me by surprise. Like, really? She's dancing around her with no pants on? It cracks me up, and it's just kind of sad that you're not going to be able to see that in the censored version, because it is hilarious that she's out there like whooping it up dressed the way she is in the uncensored version. So let's move on. All right, once again, looking at the back box, let's zoom in again, way lower left-hand corner. And we can see we've got Dr. Dude there with this female friend. And let's pull in the uncensored version. And wow, the uncensored version was showing a lot more cleavage before, and they covered it up. But no surprise, considering all the other stuff we've seen covered up. So no surprise they would cover this up too. So let's move on. Once again, looking at the back box, let's zoom in on Dracula. And based on what we've seen so far, it should be pretty easy to identify what was changed here. So let's pull in the uncensored version. And they changed his glass of wine to Green River. It's exactly the same change that was made on the playfield that we saw before. So let's move on. All right, looking at the back box again, let's zoom in on the lower right-hand corner. Should be pretty obvious. Let's pull in the uncensored version. And that Wolfman's beer had been changed to Green River. The same change that was made on the play field. So let's move on. And this is the final change made on the back box. And let's zoom in to this penguin here. Now this one might be hard to identify unless you're familiar with what the original looked like. So let's pull in the uncensored version. And you can see that the penguin was actually popping a bottle of champagne, or it could be Bop Pop or whatever. It kind of looks like champagne, which is alcoholic. So they aired on the side of being safe, I suppose, and just removed it completely. It really, you can't tell because he's kind of behind the gorilla head and they just took it out. So it's something that you probably wouldn't even miss. It's just that, that one spot now where that popping bottle was is just a little bit more empty, but it's something in the grand scheme of things you would probably not notice. So this is probably the most ho-hum change that they made on this back glass, just because they took out something you would never even really notice anyway. So that's it for the back glass. Let's move on to something else. So right now we're looking at the side of the machine. If we look to the side of the back box, we can see that lady there on that side. Again, let's pull in the uncensored version, and it's the same change that we keep seeing where they altered her dress. Now, presumably the other lady's on the other side of the back box and they've made the same exact change. However, there's no way for me to actually look at it. The free camera will only look at the playfield, and I can only push up to look at the back box. And the free camera that flies around the table never goes there. So we can't see that side of the table. I'm just hoping that sometime in the future, Zen Studios will allow a free camera that will give us more freedom to look at things. But as for now, I can't look at it at all. We just have to assume that change was made, even though we'll never see it as of now. So that's it for all the artwork, but there was at least one more change made to the party zone. So right now we're looking at a DMD animation that occurs when you do the drink portion of Eat, Drink, and Be Merry. And we can see we got two mugs that are coming together and clanking together and gives you 2 million points. But let's look at the uncensored version of that. Now, if we look at the uncensored, we can see that the mugs have foam on them, and it's more presumed that they are beer. Now, there are two things I need to bring up. The first is the more obvious, that the bottom animation, the uncensored animation, looks different than the censored animation. And that's because I had to pull the uncensored animation from the Pinball Arcade, because this animation is still censored with family mode disabled in Pinball FX3. So that's a mistake that they have made. They need to make that correction so we can see the uncensored version when family mode is disabled. Now, the other thing I need to mention is that the notes specifically say that it replaced two pertinent animations featuring glasses and jugs with alternate ones. Now, I'm not exactly sure what that means, but this is the only animation I could find that was altered. The other one with a mug or glass or jug was the one with the Bop Pop. And that one I can say for sure has not been altered because it says Bop Pop and it can be presumed that it's Soda Pop. And I've compared it frame by frame and there was nothing changed there. This is the only change I could find. So I don't know if this is counting as two animations or not. If there is another animation I'm just completely missing, let me know. But as far as I could say, I'm like 95% sure that this is the only thing that was changed. So I'm just going to have to leave it at that. And that's the end of this video. If you made it this far and you liked the video, make sure you do like the video. And if you're not yet subscribed, do consider subscribing, because there will be more videos like this as Zen Studios releases more Williams Pinball tables, and we'll continue censoring them. But I also have gameplay videos for Pinball FX3, Zaccaria Pinball, Pinball Arcade, and there will be more to come. Thanks for watching.